Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have from Exeter, Rhode Island, Debra Zannelli. And Debra has written Dark Night of the Soul. This is the first book in her, well, what would you call it? Fantasy, Debra?
It's psychological horror fantasy.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
She had a beautiful day to travel here. I've lived in Providence. Where is Exeter?
It's south of Providence, right on the Narragansett, right by the coast.
Okay, so you're near the water.
Absolutely, 20 minutes away.
Oh, nice. You have a beach, I'm sure.
Well, there's plenty of beaches to use around the area, lots of hiking trails.
Right here in Upton. The best kept secret is Blackstone Valley. So, anyway, I don't forget where I heard about you. Where was I reading about you? Did somebody send information? Usually it's an author who's appearing somewhere, or it was an article in the paper.
It was an author, I guess, who had appeared with you before, and she sent information.
And she
out.
sent the information. Okay,
Yes.
very good. Because, since COVID, we were closed from March 20th to January 2021. That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the authors were like being kept in this, like backing horses into this table. And now there's a tsunami. So we do have other people on too. But so what ever gave you the idea to write about a vampire?
Well, I have to say he's a rather unique vampire. And sometimes it's a good thing for people, sometimes not. There's nothing supernatural in my vampire. It's taken pieces of nature and forged it into this character, and by giving him extraordinary length of life, you get a much better chance to develop the character, to show the physical abuse that my main character went through, being held prisoner by the original person who took him. Yeah. So it's more like an ancient evil and the evolution of how does a person keep their soul. That's why it's Dark Night of the Soul. He manages, Marcus, my character, manages to be the person he was meant to be, even though he undergoes a tremendous psychological and physical abuse.
Oh, yeah. Now, this is the first one. Hold up as they go. These are the series that came after in it.
This is the prequel. When I was asked what happened to make him what he is and how strong he is, I wrote A Darkness Descending, using my childhood experiences to tell how someone gets their character. How did your mother teach you not to steal? Then, spoiler alert for anybody who reads Dark Knight, he does survive. And this is, 20, 30, 40 years in darkness. How do you re-enter the light? How do you once again become comfortable being around people when you were afraid to be near them?
Exactly.
And I continued on. It's a little less horror, a little more action. His skills have always been, since being taken by Gregor, hunting. That's what he had to do, his existence. So in this one, he decides he's going to hunt, and this time he's working with the FBI.
Yeah.
I actually worked with the FBI agent from the Baltimore office to get the procedure right. So,
Wait, Baltimore, Maryland?
yes.
Did you travel down there?
No, but he spent a good hour and a half on the phone with me.
How did you find him?
It's really funny, but a lot of places are very happy to help you out. I called the office in Providence, and they said they have media relations, and it's down in Baltimore. So they gave me a number, and he called me back.
And you said, I am a writer, and I would like to have info.
Yes, and he said, just tell me what you're trying to. Well, where does the FBI go? Which crimes become theirs? Do they get invited in? All of that is in that book he gave me.
That's something.
It's nice. And one thing about doing research in your books is you meet a tremendous number of really wonderful people.
Yeah.
Now, the final one in the series, we have Marcus, if you can see his face, he's rising from the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Of his life, and it's called Vampires for a distinctly different reason.
Darkness and light.
Darkness and Light. That's the entire series, and this is the final version.
That's the final one.
That's the final one.
Where did you find the time? She's a retired school teacher. Where have you found the time to do this? You haven't retired yet.
Oh, no, I've been retired for a little while, and I set myself a goal. Every morning I do a certain thing in the house to keep it clean, and every day by 2 o'clock I sit down and I write.
You're very disciplined.
I have to be.
I'm your opposite.
Well, the first week I was retired, I went and got up at noon and said, I'm still in my pajamas.
Yeah.
This will kill me. So I got a dog, and he gets me up early. We walk.
That'll do it. Or
That's
cats.
it.
Our cats wake us up.
They have to wake you up, otherwise it's too easy. I was so used to getting up.
Shut the bedroom door. Get out of here, cat.
He comes and lies by the side of the bed and cries. So.
Oh, yeah, that's our cats. Or they'll
Yeah.
get up on top of us.
Oh, well, he doesn't do that,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
goodness. He's 65 pounds, he'd kill me.
Well, they'll stare at us. I mean, we've got one who is, talk about vampire. He's a food vampire. He must be 25 pounds. He's huge.
That's
And, I mean, they cut on top of you and stare. Just stare at me.
It's kind of creepy if all you can see are their eyes at night.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes they're the only thing that glows.
Yeah, definitely. So you got the dog.
And I started hiking with him in the morning and do my lunch and sit down in the afternoon and write all those crazy thoughts I had as a child. My mother said I was making up stories from the time I learned how to walk. But like everyone else, I went to college, I got married, I had a child, got sick, and I had time. Then
So when you were in high school, were you writing for English class?
yes.
Did they pick up on it that you were so good?
Yes, my English teacher wrote to a person she knew would be a famous author one day. Unfortunately, she did not live long enough to see I
No.
published a book.
Oh my gosh.
But, you know, it was a long time ago, but she was
Yeah.
wonderful. I always remember Mrs.
high
Lanu
school.
in high school.
So when you left high school, where'd you go from there?
When I left high school, I had already met my husband. I went to Rhode Island Junior College to be a nurse, which I really decided was not in my nature. I was too emotional, and
Yeah.
I have a big connection to kids. When they said I was going to be going and working in the children's ward, I quit. And I married my husband. I got a business degree, worked in banking for 18 years in Connecticut, where my
Yeah.
husband's job was. His job moved to Newport. We came back. I used my degree to start working in the school system, working with special needs children.
What street? What town in Connecticut?
We lived in Salem.
Okay. My parents and we lived in Stamford, Norwalk, and I worked for a family in New Canaan. And that's really down towards New York City.
Yeah, we were on the other end,
Yeah.
right near, well, it was between Colchester and Norwich and Groton.
Not
So-
near Mystic?
No, right,
A little near Mystic.
Groton was first, and then there would be Mystic. It was very close. I worked at Chelsea Groton Savings Bank there.
What grade did you teach?
Grade was first and second.
First and second.
I know the camera can't see, but being my height, I like being taller than the
She
people I'm
is so
treating.
adorable. When I opened the door, she's so petite. I'm like, oh, you must be able to get the cutest clothes. Oh my God. Were you the smallest one in your family?
Yeah. My mother eventually turned smaller than me, but time brings you down. So
Yeah.
I always say I can't get too small; they'll bury me in a bowling box. But we're hoping that I keep.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. Okay?
I'm trying not to.
No. So then you retired, and at what point did you say, okay, you're walking the dog, you're doing this and that, I'm going to start writing?
I had thoughts running to. I think I've written, Pulitzer Prize winners in my head when I was walking,
Yeah,
but I don't
yeah.
remember them when I get back. So I said, I'm tired of just having these ideas, whether they're good or not. It's time to write them down.
Yeah.
So I just started, and of course, Dark Night had been started a long time ago.
Oh.
So I picked it back up, and it's a lot better than what it would have been way back then, because then I wrote it longhand, believe it or not.
Was your series of The Dark Knight during your period when she had a very serious surgery? Tell us about that.
At 34 years old, I discovered I had a brain tumor. I think it was 34. How's that? It was a long time ago. But after a long time of checking to see how it was, we decided to have surgery at Yale New Haven Hospital.
I've been there with my parents, yeah.
It's a great place, and
Yeah.
I trust the doctor completely. It was in my temporal lobe. And I had 6 months of recovery after the surgery where I wasn't really allowed to do anything like drive, go out. My son was in daycare, so I wrote the book. You had all this time. You needed to be creative.
How old was your son?
He was 4.
He was 4 then.
He was
Wow, that
4.
must have been traumatic for him too, and Mommy was feeling good.
Yeah, and my husband, he did a fantastic job taking care of me. Because, like I said, the first day I cooked again was really a big excitement.
Yeah.
I'm able
Was
to
your
cook.
head all bandaged?
Yeah, I had no hair. My son called me, Sonic the Hedgehog?
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Because when it was growing back, it had those spikes.
Oh no.
But I've decided I really don't look good without hair.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people do. I have a friend who's going through chemo, and she looks adorable, Haiva. She has the most beautiful little hats that she wears,
Oh.
and she's done it very stylish. Now, if it were me, I know immediately where I would be heading, the wig shop. I can't stand the idea. No, No. Not shy.
Well, it didn't help to have your head sunk in on one side. Because when they had to the tumor was behind my eye.
Yeah.
So they had to remove the bone, remove the muscles holding the jaw, and go in and dig in behind the eye. For the next few months after surgery, I couldn't chew hard food.
Was your surgeon positive it wasn't benign? It was benign?
Absolutely.
He knew it was benign.
He knew it was benign, and he was the third best surgeon for brain tumors in the world.
Yep.
Because most of them only do tumors on the back of the neck. This was very rare to find one that close, and I was lucky
Yeah.
I found it.
And you'd been having headaches,
Yes.
so you knew something was wrong.
I knew something was wrong, and then
MRIs?
unfortunately my thyroid kicked out, so they did an MRI, and they
Yeah.
said, well, we want to make sure
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with your thyroid, no cancer, and they accidentally found the tumor. So basically they saved my life by going that one extra step.
How long was the surgery?
9-hour surgery.
Well, mine was 5, and I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot longer than mine was.
9-hour surgery, and it's
Oh.
really creepy, but I will say when I woke up, I heard them talking to me, and I refused to wake up yet. I was awake, but I didn't want them to know it, and I just lied there for a few minutes and said, I'm just going to relax, I'm alive.
Yeah.
It just felt good to let everything go on. I wasn't ready to let them know and run out of the emergency room and all that stuff. I just
Oh.
wanted to sit here for a few minutes.
So, you didn't write anything at that point, or had you started writing?
I wrote from when I was a little kid. I have all sorts of terrible stories that my mother kept, poems that would knock your socks off.
You probably scared the devil out.
Well, they weren't all, well, one of them my sister said, I hope it's not real. So, but, well, I grew up in the time, and my father liked, horror movies. So when you
Yeah.
grow up with that,
Yeah.
and who doesn't like someone who can live forever?
We're talking with Debra Zannelli, and she is the author of, it's a series, this was the first one in the series, Dark Night of the Soul. Would you classify this as horror, as fantasy? What do you think?
I'm more fantasy since there's nothing supernatural going on.
Okay, yeah.
But there are certainly some scenes that would very much fill the horror category.
Look at the face on here. This guy's a vampire. Did you do this yourself? Did you?
No, I wish I did. I wish I knew who he was.
So you had someone else design it?
Yes, this is a design to cover.
And you're self-published?
Yes, I am.
I love self-published.
Worked hard.
Now, there's more to this. Now, you've got a couple other books there.
Yes, I showed you the first, the prequel, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
This is After Marcus Survives. How do you re-enter the world of light? He was 13 years a prisoner, 20 years in darkness chasing down his monster. He
Yep.
was determined no one else would suffer the way he did. So now he's got to find a way to make a life for himself.
Sure.
Where do you go? How do you get along with people when you've been in the
So that
dark
was
for
book
so
2.
many years? So this is, it would be classified book 3 because the
Okay,
prequel
because of the
came
other
out
ones.
first.
What are those over there now, over on your table?
Yes.
What are those?
These-
And before we start, how can they get a hold of your books?
Oh, the books are available in every format, Kindle, Kobo, all of those. It's also available on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
You can reach out to me, but like I already lost my business card somewhere.
That's okay.
But I mean, usually it's best to do that. I do go to festivals and fairs whenever I can. I will be at the Exeter Craft Show on the 2nd of April this year. We're doing a craft show, and there'll be at least a couple of authors that I know of that will be there.
I tell my authors, I said, well, there's lots of festivals and fairs coming up, besides all the stores I send you to. And I also tell them, senior centers. I mentioned this a dozen times. They look at me. I said, seniors read. They have grandchildren. They have children. I had one girl in here, first book, and I sent her to a local one. She sold 10 in an hour.
Wow.
She gave a presentation. She was a great talker like you. Gone in an hour.
That's great.
See, so they love to read too.
Actually, sometimes I do Comic-Con, and sometimes you see some of the people who come by who aren't as physically able to. They read because
Of course.
they're home. They
So
can
you go
do
to
it.
Comic-Con.
I do Comic-Con. I love Comic-Con.
Do you know Mike? Oh, he's the president of the authors.
Mike Squartitro?
Yes.
I'm the secretary of the Association of Rhode Island Authors.
There you go.
Mike is a great guy.
Yeah.
I love taking notes. I
He
like
was
writing.
sitting right there. We interviewed him the other day. So what's this book you have in your hand?
Okay, this is Sister World 1, The Arrival. It is a science fiction fantasy. It is very well researched. I work with physicists and other people to give me the information. It's about 2 children on a foreign planet that travel to Earth via the wormhole when they find out their ruler on their world is coming to ours. So in Sister World, The Arrival, they come here, they meet their mirrors, and they start building up a group of people who realize what's going on.
Hold it up a little bit more. It's called Sister World 1.
The Arrival.
The Arrival.
And after this, we have Sister World 2, The Fight for Earth. Seeing as how their world, Terra, is a mirror image of ours, each one of us has a mirror.
Yeah.
They have been slowly replacing our leaders with theirs. It's a bloodless war, or I should say, I guess, a bloodless coup. So how do you fight that? How could I tell you this president or this president is the right president? You can shoot them both.
Yeah.
So this has to be done quietly, and the children from Terra, teens, I should
This
say.
sounds so cool. Yeah, these are the most recent.
These are the most
When
recent.
did you write this one? This one?
This one's been published now for maybe 6-7 months, and I'm partway through the third.
Okay, so this is another series. How many are going to be in that series?
This is hopefully just 3. I need to I need to move on a little bit.
What would you move on to, though? You're so good at what you do. What do you think?
Well, the other thought I had was quite possibly trying to do a little more with the fantasy area, with children, of course, since they're near and dear to my heart. I would like to bring a little bit more of what would you do for them, what would they do for you.
Yeah. What about your family? What do they think of your books?
You know, family is funny.
Yeah, family is funny.
My mother was thrilled. Matter of fact, there's a character in Sister World 1 that she told me if I killed off, she was going to divorce me from her family. But Dad's kind of, he's supportive, but he's almost 90 and it's not his thing. And then my sister is my best critic and my best fan, and she does my beta reading. That's the first reader who tells
She's
you
like
no.
your editor.
Yes, and I don't understand why you went from here to there, which of course I do when you forget when you're writing that the reader doesn't always.
Sure.
So she's always, I count on her. If I did something wrong, she will tell me.
She will help fix it. She's your big sister.
Yes, she's my big sister,
Right,
and she's
okay.
always been there for
What
me.
about your brother?
14 years younger. Yeah, we see each other, we get along at holidays and things, but he's busy, he has 4 children.
He's got 4 children.
Yes, he has 4 children.
Oh, my.
One of them's in college now. He's a musician in Rhode Island. He has his own music studio. So he's really busy. And of course his wife, she homeschools, so she's still teaching 3 of them at home and working. We don't see each other a lot.
Well, Exeter, I don't know. I've probably been through there in Rhode Island. But I've lived in Providence and East Providence. I know where Warwick is. Greenwich, East Greenwich, West Greenwich, but that's about
Do you know where URI is?
I know where the old women and infants lying in hospital is, and there's a veterans hospital in Providence?
Yeah, in Providence. We're near the Rhode Island Veterans Memorial
Okay.
Cemetery.
Yeah.
And URI, we're kind of between that. And if you ever see on the news, Yago Valley Ski Area,
Yeah.
they're 10 minutes from my house.
That's yours, yeah.
That's right in our area.
We're talking with Debra Zannelli, and she is an author, many books, but hers, Dark Night of the Soul, is a series. This was the first one in that series. And then she has a more newer one in the series, and it's like a sci-fi, and it's got children in it.
Yes.
This is unusual. I have a lot of authors, and I'm telling you, the children in a sci-fi is cool. You taught 1st and 2nd grade,
Yes.
so you know a lot of how they think, besides being a mom.
Yeah. No, I think sometimes you get more out of those that you're not a mother of, because when you're guiding your own child,
Yes.
you don't get to look at. And what I've seen in children from my teaching is sometimes there's a great deal of wisdom.
Yeah.
Well, they may not have all the education, but there's a great deal of wisdom. However, anybody who tells you children don't lie has never been near a child.
She
They're
and I
very
both-
good at it.
We both have one child, and
Yes.
hers is going to be 31.
Yes.
Mine, God help the world, it's going to be 30. It's 29 now, and they make you wonder, don't they, this generation?
Yeah, but I have to say, my son, when he was in, kindergarten, they do those little books. What do you want to be when you grow up? I
Yeah.
want to be an engineer like my daddy. He's an engineer like his daddy. He never changed his mind.
Oh, you lucky girl.
So I said,
my.
okay, I'll take that.
Mine wanted to be a doctor. And what really changed his mind was he had a lousy 1st grade teacher. And show and tell?
Yeah.
He brought, from UMass, we had gotten him a stethoscope. And he brought it in for show and tell. This kid was someone, I took him to a yard sale. Instead of, I'll say, would you like a toy? No, what is my son picked up a copy of Grey's Anatomy. Okay, it was pretty well, and he loved skeletons. I even had to take him to Milford Hospital to watch open heart surgery. He was, what, 6 years old?
Wow.
Okay, I thought that was pretty much a done deal. So he brought that to show and tell, and he came back home, and he tossed it down. He says, I'm never doing that again. I said, why? Because they laughed at me. She let them all laugh at him. A kid that age, you don't do that.
No, that's really hard. If it's an ambition, you see very often. I've seen mostly great teachers, but you don't. It doesn't take more than one or two to make a real impact.
And she's the same one that I started a little group for the elementary kids. You know, just kind of catch them early. Do you have an interest in medicine? It was called Club Med, and we went to UMass. We had a tour of Life Flight. We had a doctor come and talk with us, and I was on the PTA. And one day she said to me, Jan, what do you think you're going to accomplish with this? I'm like, and you are a first grade teacher? You know nada about how children to appreciate what they're interested in. What is wrong with you? I just look at her like, you know, a different planet. Totally. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I don't get it
just
either.
couldn't believe it. And I don't think that experience ever left him.
No, I would imagine it wouldn't. I know one thing the kids liked about me is most of them could look me in the eye.
That's right, because she's so petite.
They liked that.
Yeah.
It's because a lot of people treat kids like kids, treat them like little people.
Mm.
The little boys, second grade, they're already starting to be their dad. And, you know, just remember that a lot of what they're saying, they're parodying, but they're also thinking. You can get them thinking. Most important thing about education is teaching them how to learn, not
Yes.
forcing facts down
And they
their
don't
throat.
always learn the same way.
They
You know,
don't.
especially you got ADHD, chronic disorder. It's not their fault. They're born with
No.
this. Okay, so you deal with it, and it's awfully hard. A lot of parents don't realize that you can get a mediator at no cost to sit in with the, if you need that, what do you call it, IEP.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like pulling teeth to get them to pony up to the plate. We got a kid here who learns differently.
Yeah.
I got myself one from the Federation for Children in Boston, free. She was wonderful. She listened to me in one room, and listened to the crew in the other room. Bam. He
They
had that
do
idea.
provide them. They're wonderful. And that's where I worked with the autistic children, helping them read. And I'll tell
Autistic,
you,
yeah. Oh,
well, various stages on the IEP. When in
Yeah.
first and second grade, it's not quite as specific because
Yeah.
they're just learning. And nothing is more rewarding than when I was at the Exeter Festival and a young woman came over and said, "You taught me to read. I'm in college now."
Oh,
I was like, you know, I'm sure she had lots of other help, but that says everything.
it's like going to the doctor, especially over at UMass, because it's also a teaching hospital. And in walks a doctor, and I'm like, oh my God. He's my son's age, just about. It's weird. It
Yes.
is, and yet they're cute, and they're fun, and they're smart.
And they recognize me, but they changed so much. It took me a
Oh.
long time to figure out who this gorgeous girl. I mean, when I knew her, she, you know, little button nose, big bright eyes.
But that's great that they knew you.
She knew me.
They still knew who you were. We're talking with Debra Zannelli, and she's an author of Dark Night of the Soul. Plus, what was the other two that you showed us?
The other two was
yeah,
Sister
the
World,
sci-fi.
The Arrival, and Sister World, The Fight for Earth is the second one. I'll hold
Yeah.
them up for you.
And you brought them in. They can also be down at the authors special authors section of the Upton Library. And can you get them on Amazon, right?
You can get them on Amazon, and they're in all ebook formats also. I do have them set up on, I guess they were way more than I realized, but I have them all set up through Draft to Digital, so
You mean the what's that thing called?
the Nook, the Kindle, the Apple books.
Are they on that too?
They're on all of them.
Who narrates your books for you? Oh, wait a minute. They can read it.
They're from an e-reader.
I wonder what the call is for people who listen to it in the car, getting a narrator to read your book.
Yeah, I thought about that, but being self-published, it is expensive. And I would like to see a little more movement on the books before, but I would definitely consider at some point Sister World 1 and maybe Dark Night and see how that works.
I wouldn't want to drive and be listening to it, though. I mean, I'll listen to a talk radio show, but I could push I can't explain it. If I get too involved with what the book is about, I can't predict that I might go
Yeah.
off the road.
Some people really like to, some don't.
Yeah.
So that's one I would say maybe having it available is good. I'm just not sure. And like I said, I would have to pay all the costs at this point.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It does add up. I'm retired, so there's only so much flowing
So,
income.
Debra, you've got these latest 2 sci-fis. Now there's a third one coming up, part of it. And then how many are you going to have in your series?
Sister World will be just 3,
Yeah.
and the Darkness and Light series is complete.
They're done.
They're done.
Sister World, what's coming after that?
Well, I have a concept for something that happens local in Exeter. It's
Yeah.
I can't say anymore
Historical
because it's
fiction?
yes.
Oh, that's a try to leap from sci-fi to... This is great.
I just have all sorts of ideas, and the worst thing that can happen is I don't complete it and I throw it out.
Now, okay, you said you hand wrote which series?
Dark Night of the Soul, the first one, when I was home, I didn't have a computer, so I hand wrote it while I was recovering. The file is this big. I said, I'm never getting it published because publishers ask you how many words. Can you imagine counting?
I hate that, yeah.
Thank God for computers.
I can sit down, I can type about 100 words a minute, so it's easier for me. I like writing, but as it comes to me, and I have to teach myself, you don't have to correct it the minute you write it. Just let it flow, right?
Yes.
I haven't gotten the book out yet. I have it in my mind, but I just, so much going on. I like promoting other people.
Well, we appreciate it, believe me. I know I always start with the book at the end and the characters, and I
Oh
know
my
how I
God.
want them to end up, and
So
then
you start
I
with- that's-
work up to it.
Do you work with a timetable?
Yeah,
Or
I keep an
backwards?
outline and I work with the timetable and a flow. I want him to end up here, so how do I start? It ended up being Dark Night of the Soul. It took all those books.
Do you picture it like I have to picture it as a movie form in my head.
Yes, and you would laugh if you saw me writing in the kitchen, because if there's an action scene, I act it out. So I have kicked the kitchen chairs over.
Well, we're going to get you back again because you got the other book coming up, and then you've got, you're going to have the third one for your sci-fi, then you've got the historical fiction down near Exeter, as a secret yet. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I hope so. I'm really giving it my all. It's time. I waited a long time.
Well, welcome. I'm so glad to meet you. This is awesome. We'll see you next time and be my guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.